Hi, my name is Pete Suchman, producer of SciTech Long Island. When I look back over the last 35 years of my teaching career, one of my favorite professional development experiences was my Earthwatch expedition in 1991. The purpose of today's show is to introduce you, our viewing audience, to Earthwatch, with the hope that some of you will jump in and try it. If you are a high school student or a teacher, stay tuned and learn about this amazing opportunity to become a citizen scientist out there in the real world. As an enthusiastic science teacher, I understood the need for constant professional development throughout my career. I worked very hard to take innovative courses that would improve my teaching skills and maintain my high levels of motivation. I shied away from traditional teacher courses and challenged myself with travel opportunities that helped me to widen my horizons. One such course was my Spotted Owl Earthwatch expedition that took me to the top of the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. There we were studying the California spotted owl in its natural habitat. After this break, I will be sharing with you my Earthwatch experience.
Imagine what it would be like if you left the Earth for an entire year. Away from your friends, your family, everything you love and care about. Two of Earth's bravest are making that sacrifice right now. They've traveled beyond our atmosphere for a year-long stay aboard the International Space Station. Here, they'll study the effects of prolonged weightlessness on the human body. Their discoveries will allow humans to travel farther into space than ever before. The conditions are harsh, the risk is great, but the potential payoff is huge. We could stay on Earth, but that's not who we are. We're scientists and we're explorers. We'll always venture into the unknown and seek to expand our knowledge. One day soon, humans will step foot on Mars, and it's the science being conducted today aboard the International Space Station that will help us get there. We explore the universe because we must. Because humankind's future doesn't belong on Earth alone.
Hi, welcome back to SciTech Long Island. So Ben, now you're going to do a little time traveling with me. We're going to go back to 1991 and see some images of my Earthwatch experience. I was a younger man. This was my first field expedition, and it had started with this article in 1990 about the spotted owl controversy. And in 1991, there I found myself out in California at the top of the mountain studying the California spotted owl. So for teachers, our audience today is teachers and high school students. For teachers, earning graduate credit, increasing your salary, experiencing real science in the field, having a great time, meeting new friends, all while seeing the world, and getting a fellowship to help you pay for it. This is what Earthwatch is all about. The mission of Earthwatch, as you can see here, is to improve human understanding of our planet. It's so important these days. The diversity of its inhabitants and the processes that affect the quality of life on Earth. So you'll see that when you go to earthwatch.org, a lot of the expeditions in 2016 have to do with climate science and climate change.
It's an issue.
For me, I have been a tree hugger all my life. So you can see in that upper map, the black areas were the parts of the United States that were originally covered in ancient forests. That's in the 1600s. The middle map shows that a lot of those ancient forests were cut down, and the lowest map shows you that there's very little left of the ancient forests in the United States. Close to nothing. And on the right-hand side, you see the images there of trees being cut down. I found out during my Earthwatch that national forests were not exempt from being cut, and that was one of the eye-opening experiences for me. I'm not condemning lumbering, and I'm not condemning the lumberjacks. They have a way of life and so forth. But what I very quickly learned was that the old-growth forests were not a renewable resource. They're thousands of years old.
Yeah.
So you can plant tree farms, but you can't replant an ancient forest. It takes thousands of years to develop. This was me. Can you see me up there? I'm all the way over there
Oh,
on the right. I'm
yeah.
a much younger man. There were high school students and teachers. Our principal investigator was Peter Busher. He was the lead scientist. And I stayed in touch with everybody in that group for quite a few years. And it had an amazing influence on all of us. We would drive in from our campsite in our minivan and then hike into the ancient forests. And basically, we were there to study the California spotted owl. It's an endangered species. So we all had to learn how to call a spotted owl. Do you know how to call a spotted owl?
I don't know how to call a spotted owl.
Woo! Woo! It was so much fun. We all practiced. Some of us were better than others. And very quickly, we found our first owl pellet. Now, the owl pellets, these are pellets that are regurgitated by the owls after they've eaten a small mouse or a vole. They're going to regurgitate the bones. So we would collect the owls' pellets, and we would then try to interpret where the owls were living by where we found the owl pellets. I mean,
Makes
and we
sense.
would map out the area. And we all became experts at analyzing the skeletons that we found in the owl pellets and determining what animals the owls were eating. And then the most exciting part was when we caught sight of our first California spotted owls. On the left and on the right-hand side, those are the fledglings. They kind of look like Cousin It from the Addams Family. But, they were giant feathered creatures. The ability to rotate their necks, you thought their heads were going to fall off sometimes. It was amazing how they could turn around. But they were a little skittish at first, but as we became a regular part of their environment, the owls would come closer and closer to us, and they were as curious about us as we were about them. Mm-hmm. We fancied ourselves the chainsaw busters, but we never did that when we went into the towns because we didn't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
All the local economy in this area of California was logging, and their grandfathers were loggers, their fathers were loggers, and they very much expected that their children would grow up to be loggers also. These were our, accommodations. Have you done any camping, Ben?
I've been to a summer camp. I've done kind of camping.
Okay,
so to speak.
so we brought our sleeping bags, and they had wooden platforms for us, and we set up our tents. And the accommodations were very comfortable, and the food was fantastic. Every
Really?
Earthwatch brings their own cook on board.
Oh, wow.
And they have a well-supplied chow train, and the food was fantastic. These were our showers, and the first few people were lucky enough to get a little bit of solar hot water, but if you weren't in the first shower, you got a nice cold plunge. But it was invigorating.
Refreshing.
It was refreshing. It was hot during the summer. We were there in July 1991, and it felt good to take a good shower at least once or twice a day. This is one of my colleagues, Hal, who was setting up the traps. So our Earthwatch could not go into the area and tell everybody we were here to study the spotted owls because it was such a controversial creature. So we basically made our scientific analysis of the animals that were being found in the area that the owls might eat. So we were studying and trapping the live animals, cataloging them. We would put painless ear tags on them, and we would build up a database of animals in the area. We would even try to catch some flying squirrels by putting traps on trees. Did you ever see a flying squirrel fly?
Nope.
It's unbelievable. They have just a huge flap of skin under their arms. They climb up high and they glide through the air, and they actually land.
That must be amazing.
Like a parachute. It was just amazing to see firsthand. This was the crux of the issue, the Yellow Ribbon Coalition. Up there in the mountains of California, the loggers were owl eaters because if owls were found, they couldn't cut the trees. Mm-hmm. So not only did they try to hunt and kill the owls, but they would even advertise, and you would even find owl on the menus in some of the local restaurants. It was a very, very difficult issue. We, as scientists, were not there to be confrontational. We were there to gather data. So we photographed some of these yellow ribbon, coalitions in action, but we did not confront. We did not try to change their mindsets. You can't. Historically, that's all they had for living in the area. We quickly realized the entrenched thinking of the locals. They only knew logging and had no interest in retraining themselves or their kids. They fully expected their kids to be loggers, and that was that. And there's no arguing about that.
There's no changing that.
One could try to start a discussion. We did try sometimes to say, if you cut down all the trees, there'll be no trees left for your kids to cut. But
exactly.
You can't go too far into that. It was just not worth.
They're just not expecting that.
Yeah. So. The issues of the California spotted owl, what we actually found out is that our evidence, our video evidence with latitude and longitude coordinates verified that we had an endangered species living in this area of the national forest. And I want to show you one thing on a map. This came as quite a shock to me. Can you see all the different colors on this map? This is the area we were studying, and the different colors, some of them are white, some of them are green, some of them are yellow, some of them are blue, that's the water areas. But it's like a chessboard in some areas. That means that the land has different ownership. It's Bureau of Land Management, it's state-owned, it's local forests. And as a result, some of the areas within the national forest had legal cutting. And I didn't realize that you could cut trees down in a national forest. It was a rude awakening for me. But to cut a long story short, basically, because of the video evidence we had from our data, which we verified and confirmed, certain areas of the national forest were set aside. And I have the article here. Can hold this up. The Forest Service halts the sale of live timber in the Sierra Nevada mountains. As a result, this was one of the first cooperative efforts between scientists working with local loggers who arrived at a compromise that in those specific areas where the California spotted owls were found, there would be no logging, and it was a win-win for everybody. Today, are there still communities surviving through logging? Fewer and fewer and fewer. There's more of a mandate right now to protect the forests, especially what's left of our ancient forests. And this, for me, was a major part of what became my passion and my activism for environmental science. So I can't tell you how many students over the years saw my Earthwatch slides. They're now a digital video, PowerPoint presentation. And I'm hoping that my Earthwatch experience, as well as the other things you're learning about Earthwatch in this show, will influence many other teachers and many other high school students like yourself to go out there, to become a citizen scientist, and to start the process of learning about science firsthand outside of the classroom, out there in the real world.
I mean, you made such a difference. I mean, obviously, if this Earthwatch probably would not have happened, I mean, there could still be logging out there wherever you visited, and maybe the spotted owl might have been extinct by now.
Yeah.
You guys probably made such a huge contribution.
So it's an authentic science, it's a real data collection, and I hope that this has been meaningful to you and to our TV audience today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
So welcome back. In this segment, we're going to be working with Ben Baruch here at my side, and we're going to be Skyping with Hitta Phoenix, who is the program manager for Teach Earth Fellowship Program. Hitta, could you give us a brief overview of what you do for Earthwatch, please?
Absolutely. So Earthwatch, we're an international environmental nonprofit, and we find ways for people from all walks of life to get out in the field with scientists for a week or two to help them collect their data. So with the Teach Earth program, what I do is I specialize in finding ways to get teachers, K through 12 teachers from all over the place, to go out in the field in groups together with those scientists, getting hands-on, collecting data, and learning about science firsthand.
So Ben, this is what you and I spoke about citizen science.
Yes.
So do you have a question for Hitta?
Yes. So, obviously these scientists going are considered citizen scientists. Could you explain what you mean by a citizen scientist? Like, give our viewers a definition of that term.
Absolutely. So a citizen scientist is someone who is not trained as a scientist, so they don't have a PhD, they don't have a degree, and it's not their everyday profession to be a scientist, but they're someone who's out there collecting data, being an active part of science, and making an active contribution, even though it's not their full-time job.
So I know from my own perspective, in 1990, I saw this magazine article, Who Gives a Hoot, about the spotted owl, and it resonated with me for some reason. And then the next year, I heard about Earthwatch, and there was an expedition where I could go to the top of the Sierra Nevada mountains and actually study the California spotted owl in its home environment. And for me, it was one of the highlights of my professional development. I would, we're going to be Skyping with a couple of teaching fellows shortly thereafter, and we're going to hear from their, about their recent experiences. But what does a teacher need to do these days to initiate the process of becoming a teacher with Earthwatch?
Absolutely. There's 3 different ways that a teacher can get involved with Earthwatch. So one would be through our teacher fellowship program. So right now we actually have applications open for teachers who are interested in going on an expedition next summer. Those are due December 14th. And
so get on it right away.
Exactly. You got about a month to
Okay.
go before those are due. So due December 14th, Teach Earth applications. And with that, you apply and you get a fully funded opportunity to go on an expedition, and you'd be in the field with a whole bunch of other teachers all learning together. So that's one great way to get involved. Another way is that all of our expeditions are open to the public, so you can go right on Earthwatch's website, go to the expedition section, pick an expedition, and if you have the means, pay your own way or get your school to help you to pay to go out on an expedition, any one of your choice. And the third way to get involved is through our groups program. So teachers, if you're interested in bringing your classroom out with you or a club you're with, if they're 15 to 18, you can organize a group. For every 6 folks, 1 goes for free, so the teacher could go for free out on that expedition if you want to really bring your students right out into the field with you.
Fantastic. So what do you think? Would that interest you?
I think that would interest me. I was looking up a lot of those expeditions online. They seemed really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there are literally 2016 Earthwatch expeditions all over the planet. So now what about Ben? He's a high school student. He's a 10th grader. He's interested. What's out there for him?
Good question. So we also have teen expeditions, which are set up where all teenagers, similar age 15 to 18, can sign up. So he'd be out in the field with a group of his peers. That's similarly a paid program where you would pay to sign up and go. And so you get to learn with other students, and you can open up a little bit more, be a little more casual versus if you're like one student with a bunch of adults. It's nice to be all together and be right out there in the field, hands-on with a scientist, university professor helping them out. We also have some areas where we do have funding for fellowships, like I mentioned with the Teachers for Students. Right now, we are able to do that for students from the greater Los Angeles area, as far as within the U.S. goes. But we're always looking for more funding to be able to offer that opportunity for other students as well. And if your teacher organized, you could go out on a trip with them.
Yeah, so one of the my hopes that this show will raise awareness of the importance of Earthwatch, and if there's a corporate sponsor out there that wants to jump in, this is citizen science at its best. This is taking kids out of the classroom into the real world to do science, to become part of a global classroom, if you will. And that's exactly what schools and teachers need to be offering now to their students.
I mean, the more people who go, I mean, obviously it just gets better. More citizen scientists from around the world just makes it all
Sure.
better.
And then you could bring that back to school and continue the research and maybe get involved
Exactly.
in the Long Island Science Congress or LICEF or NICEF. I mean, this is where you hook the kids, get them involved in research, and then we follow it up and we continue the research. Can students publish their involvements? Can students get college credit for their participation in Earthwatch or anything like that?
So we don't have a college credit program right now, but a lot of the students do get like community service credit hours.
Yes, yeah, and that's more and more important now for high school
Great
students.
one as well. It's a high school graduation requirement in a lot of
Yes.
cities. So the community service credit hours, and then all of the research that they're contributing to, the scientists do publish peer-reviewed publications in the scientific literature with that data, and we'll usually cite all the Earthwatch volunteers who came out as one
All
big
right.
group. And
So there's a way to get
Yeah.
your name out there as part of a research
Yeah,
paper.
it makes you feel really good about
Yeah.
yourself
Oh,
also.
it does, it does. All right, so we're going to wrap it up with this segment. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the high school students or teachers who are watching us today?
If you are interested from what you've heard, check us out online, earthwatch.org. We have lots of opportunities around the world to get hands-on, work side by side with scientists. We'd love to have you out.
All right. And this can happen during the summer vacation or during school breaks, or in some cases, kids go with teachers during the school year.
Absolutely, yep. We have opportunities and programs all year long.
Well, it sounds fantastic. It was a wonderful experience for me. What do you think?
I had a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much
All
for
right.
coming on.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and we will continue watching the Earth watching.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And we're back. So Ben, we've accomplished 2 of our 3 Skypes. I'm very excited now to introduce you to Jessica McClish, who is a science teacher in New York City. And Jessica, could you tell us a little bit about how what brought you to Earthwatch? How did you get started with Earthwatch, and a little bit about your Earthwatch experiences?
Yeah, so one of the teachers at my high school actually had traveled on a trip the year before. She had gone and studied songbirds in the Tetons, and she was really excited about it, and she shared her experience with a number of teachers at the school, did like a presentation, and I thought this is something that sounds really interesting. I would love to go and on a trip and experience an Earthwatch expedition for myself. So her interest and experience kind of led me to want to get involved as well.
And how did you use this experience in your classroom with your students?
Yeah, so the location that I went was to Tucson, Arizona, and I studied caterpillars and climate change. So
Caterpillars and climate change. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
Everything seems to be related these days.
There's a lot of climate change expeditions these days.
Sure.
And so I had the opportunity to collect data about different caterpillars living in different ecosystems and what they feed on, and how parasitoids, which are wasps and things that lay their eggs inside of caterpillars, how they're affecting populations, and then how the temperature is having an effect on all of these different interactions within the ecosystem. So it was really fascinating. When I came back to my school, I started a butterfly garden.
Nice.
Because in New York City, there's not a lot of green space, and there's plenty of pollinators that do exist, your butterflies, your bees, your insects, but they need the proper flowers and the proper vegetation to survive on. So I had my students plan a butterfly garden, and we actually I have pictures of them holding large caterpillars that had been laid from butterflies onto different leaves of the plants. And
Was that monarch butterflies?
there were monarchs. I want to say like a blue swallowtail or something. There was a
Beautiful.
rather large caterpillar that I have a great picture. It wasn't a monarch caterpillar, but it was huge. It was literally like the size of like a student's entire hand.
Wow.
So surprising, because usually you think of caterpillars and they're pretty small, but even here in the city you can get some of the larger ones if you have the proper vegetation. So it was really cool.
All right. So what questions do you have?
So, I mean, I'm in school. I've been in school all my life, obviously. And it's not always the most fun thing to sit around like in a classroom and like try and memorize biology, try and memorize all these facts about like what you're supposed to learn. And you were saying that you were talking to many teachers. That's how you got involved in Earthwatch. So we're obviously directing this program to teachers, to maybe funders for scholarships. What do you say to teachers who maybe want to get their kids on an Earthwatch to get them out into the real world?
So I think Earthwatch is really powerful because as a science teacher, you're often teaching material and the students are completely disconnected from it. Like you said, like just to hear about something is not as interesting as actually doing it. So I love Earthwatch because you're teaching science, but when you can send a student or a teacher on a trip through Earthwatch, they're getting a chance to experience real science data collection with real scientists. And these things that you're learning about in the classroom become much more real.
Absolutely.
And you can bring back that experience, you can bring back pictures, you can bring back the actual data to the classroom, students and teachers alike. And it makes that sort of abstract conversation you're having about science like much more authentic. So I definitely would encourage funders who are thinking about supporting students or teachers on an Earthwatch trip to do it because it's real science experience, and it's not just real science experience. You're being out in the natural world, and I think that can be really powerful, especially for students who grow up around New York City or in a metropolitan area, because they're not.
All right, we're having some technical difficulty right now. You're back. Good.
Their natural environments.
All right. So one of the questions I have for you is, now that you're a two-time fellow with Earthwatch, are you part of a network of teachers around the planet? Can you share materials within the network?
So Earthwatch, so back when I went on my first trip with them in 2013, they didn't really have a system for sharing worldwide materials, but they have gotten better. Now in 2015, this past summer when I went, there was like a platform on their website where you can connect and share materials. And yeah, you do become part of a network. So like I keep in touch with the teachers that I worked with this summer. A lot of them are from California, and they've been doing some really interesting projects with their schools and their kids, creating gray water systems. And one of the teachers, she wanted to do like a no trash Tuesdays where in the cafeteria they try to eliminate, trash, any sort of trash waste products from their cafeteria. So
there's a collaboration now between you and other Earthwatch teachers, and there's a sharing of ideas.
This platform has definitely created sort of this network.
Okay, and I'm hoping that something along the lines of that can be worked out for high school students also. Imagine a high school student going on an Earthwatch and then becoming connected to other high school students all around the world, and a collaboration of sorts can now develop so that you now have a global classroom as an Earthwatcher.
And even this Earthwatcher, the student, bringing back his own experiences and making an influence in his own school.
Sure. And then the students who come back can continue the research and get involved in local science competitions, LICEF, NICEF, Long Island Science Congress, and so forth. So there's a win-win here for everybody. So I thank you so much. I can see your passion. It shines through, and I think your students are very lucky to have you. And I think that experiences like Earthwatch that I had, which was a major experience for me in my teaching career, has been the same for you. So we would like to invite the high school students, the teachers that are out there, go to earthwatch.org. Look at some of the case studies that are out there. The 2016 Earthwatch expeditions are literally all over the planet. They are in every continent.
Yeah.
You can study dolphins. You can study koala bears. You name it. They're out there. And the suggestion was to perhaps start local and then do other Earthwatches as you gain more experience in world travel. Well, I thank you so much. I appreciate your joining us today, and thank you for your advice. And any closing remarks you'd like to make?
if you're considering doing an Earthwatch trip, I would highly recommend it. Make the choice of yes, do it.
There you go. Just do it. Thank you. Good
Yep.
words.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. So I really hope you enjoyed learning about Earthwatch today. It's an amazing organization devoted to putting students and adults out there into the real world doing citizen science in a global classroom. The 2016 expeditions are online at www.earthwatch.org. Please check them out. I can't think of a better experience for a high school student that removes them from their normal routines and places them into an authentic scientific expedition. And for my colleagues, the teachers out there, I strongly suggest you look into this. The Earthwatch experience will recharge your battery and provide you with amazing opportunities to bring back to your school and to your students.